welcome here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. Proud to be here with you every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. And of course, here on a Wednesday, we start off the show as we always do on Wednesdays at 9 a.m. Eastern Time with the Dolphin Dive. We're a few minutes back here because Mr. Champion and I were talking off the air, but on the air here in just a moment, you'll hear from the Moyne Dolphins men's basketball head coach and Moyne Dolphins basketball alum Nate Champion, who is on the recruiting trail currently inside of the season. So pulling double duty as always, plus watching film and everything else that he does for this program that is working very hard in year two in Division One. Nate's going to join me in just a couple minutes here inside the Great Lakes Honda City Studios. And in hour number two, I will have the opportunity and the privilege of sharing my special with you with Navy midshipman head football coach Brian Newberry. And Brian and I will be discussing a season where they won the Army-Navy game. It's the first one that I was at on site on location, and it was in our nation's capital just outside of Washington, D.C., in Landover, Maryland, where they were playing inside of the Washington Commanders Stadium. So we'll discuss that. We'll discuss the win over Oklahoma. The win over the Oklahoma Sooners, obviously going back to the roots of Oklahoma for Brian Newberry, and at the same time, when it comes to Oklahoma, defeating an SEC school to round out the season for Navy in the American Athletic Conference. So a lot of great stuff to build upon, plus a good quarterback and a lot of great things that Navy is working to do. So the story of the Navy midshipman continues, and it continues here on Wake Up Call in hour number two. But as promised here in hour number one, with Nate Champion. Always happy to have Nate on the show. I'm going to give him a little bit of an intro, and hopefully he'll be okay with this. I know I usually say really nice things, and then he says, thanks. That's it. That's all Nate says. Because, if you know Nate and you say nice things to him, he'll just say, I appreciate it, or he'll say, thank you. But one of those people that has been humble, has always been good to me, and we've always found time to link up, which I appreciate in his entire time being a head coach at Moyne College. I wish I knew him before when he was a student athlete, but happy to know him now. So Nate is in a picture right now. You see a still image of Nate Champion, and that is because he is traveling and traveling safely on the recruiting trail. But if I may say a few things here before we get started with Nate, definitely over the years, I've gotten the opportunity to get to know him, to get to know obviously his wife, and get to know what he is, why he is, what he stands for. And I've gotten to see him in a lot of different situations. He's had different athletic directors, he's had different student athletes, different coaches with him. And the thing about Nate to me, from going and doing a show and having food at Mother's Cupboard to eating in his office to, just talking after something that went on at Moyne and going in and seeing him and the guys, as well as being right behind him there when I usually sit right behind the bench. So from all of those moments over these past few years, I can honestly say that there's a human being behind the leadership of this team. Obviously, he loves the game and has played the game and coaches it, but he's also someone that I feel like has been really respectful, really hardworking, generous with his time, kind. And I'm really saying all of this because before the show, he wired me some money, and I appreciate it. But, I mean, but the reality of it all is, now, all jokes aside, Nate has always been good to me, and I feel like we can always do more together. And I see some things in our future that hopefully he'll be open to when the time comes. But Mr. Champion is a champion to me on and off the court, and I say that with love, and I say that with respect. So with that being said, let me bring in the head coach of Moyne. In a world where it's so hard to find consistency in coaching, he's been with his alma mater for a while. Let's bring him in. Nate, how are we doing today?
Doing well, Dan. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate the intro and kind words. I don't know if I deserve all that, but I thank you.
Yeah, well, we need to have lunch, I think. I think we're due for lunch, though, Nate. And I'm going to do this. I'm sorry, but I have to. I have not gotten any food from your house. I've not been invited to the house. I want to know what I did, Nate, to be in that situation.
We'll see. But no, definitely, to sit down and do some lunch here soon. And like I said, appreciate you always, checking in with the program and following us.
Absolutely. And it's been an honor and a privilege to be the exclusive multimedia marketing partner with the Moyne College Dolphins and be able to have the vision that I had implemented with Bob Beretta a few years back and be able to do more with Moyne. So, speaking of doing more, what have you looked at here in year two in the transition from NCAA Division two to Division one when it comes to doing more, finding things that you learned from year one? What is in year two that maybe wasn't in year one in your transition?
I think, honestly, the biggest thing that has been different from year two to year one has been just understanding how lucky we were to have guys last year that came in and had been with us previously, and kind of understood what the goal was and what the standard was, and understanding how to always live up to that. And then this year presented new challenges with new guys, and I wouldn't change anything with these guys. I mean, they've come in and they've worked, and we went through a lot of injuries at the beginning of the year, and just for me as a coach, there's always challenges year in and year out, but I think embracing those challenges and trying to find ways to be successful within those challenges has been something that I've learned a lot from this year. And I think just consistency with who you are, and that when you're consistent with who you are and you understand kind of the way that you work and what works for you and your program, you can always fight through and figure out, tough situations. And I think that's a reflection of our team this year. They're resilient, and I think that's a reflection on why we were able to get 2 wins last week.
Yeah, you talk about a team's resiliency, and you and I were talking off the air about this, Nate, that this is a team that doesn't have Kai Cleary, doesn't have Luke Sutherland. Some of those leaders that were on this team for, the last short while here, navigating, and you had made mention of them, navigating a world without them. What has that been like for this unit, for the guys that have returned? And have you seen guys step up into those leadership roles and say, hey, Kai did a great job, Luke did a great job, but now it's time for me to step in? Have you seen that?
Yeah, I think you see a lot of guys that haven't been in those roles at the college level or haven't been in those roles for a few years, and a few of the people that I know have really stepped up for us. One being Nate Fouts, obviously played behind Luke last year, so you got a front row seat on just what the maturation process of becoming an all-league player is. I think he's getting a first-class ticket and first-class education in that this year, with him understanding what it takes, and he's done a great job stepping up to the plate and embracing that challenge that he's been given, and he's done a great job with that. And then AJ Dantzler is another one that played behind Mike DePersia and Isaiah Salter last year, and kind of understood the hard work that it takes to be successful as a point guard on a team that can win games. And I think you've seen that throughout the year. He started off a little slow, and it's kind of hit his groove in conference play, and has been somebody that's been playing great for us lately. And we continue to grow with AJ, and he's someone that has been embracing the whole learning process and understanding that not everything's going to be perfect all the time, but if you continue to be hungry and learning and hungry and getting better, then putting the work in is always going to show. And someone that has been doing well lately, and it's a direct reflection of the work that he's put in on the court. And then the last person I'll mention, as far as guys that are returning, Dang Garang. Dang went from not playing at all at the beginning of the year to a couple of slot minutes in the Division 3 games, playing more, and then the St. Francis PA game a few weeks ago, we threw him in the second half and saw a lot of good things from him. He started against Mercyhurst and went through a little adversity there. Didn't have a great game, but still continue to show some positives on the defensive side of the ball, especially. And, last week had a great week in their rookie of the week honors. And another kid that just is a relentless worker and does things the right way. And then you have guys that are new.
Yeah.
Dwayne Caroma has been a great piece for us this year and continues to be solid game in and game out. And Robbie Carmody, who has had a lot of injuries throughout his career, and same with Will Amika, and those guys are getting a chance to play a lot of minutes this year. And although they're older players, their careers are pretty young due to injuries. So I think for us, there's a lot of moving parts, a lot of gelling that has to happen. And the last 4 games were 2-2, but on the 2 games we lost, we had chances to win in the last couple minutes of the game at both of those. And I think it's just part of the maturation process you're seeing with our group. And starting to play pretty good basketball right now, and that's something that, as a coach, you want to see, especially at the end of February, headed into March.
Yeah, no, and I definitely appreciate the breakdown of that, and the guys that you mentioned, the guys that have returned, as well as some of those new faces that you feel like have stuck out in a special way. Speaking here with Nate Champion, the head coach of the Moyne Dolphins men's basketball program, and Nate, as we do look at Dang, and you had mentioned him, he came in, he's a local guy, he comes from Bishop Grimes, and when you go on recruiting trips, as you are coming back from one right now, you've been willing to go all over the place, all over the country. You've gone to the Midwest where your roots are, and we've seen you, obviously go down to Florida, as well as where you are right now in the Northeast. So when you saw Dang and you saw what he could do and what his talents are, what kind of stood out to you with him at Bishop Grimes? Because his story, and having somebody from here, I mean, we don't hear a lot about that, right? And when you brought Dang in, it was an NCAA Division II program, and then you evolved to be a Division I program here. But in that transition period, you were recruiting Dang. You had talked to me about him. You brought him in last year. He was on the bench. He was watching. This year, he's getting more time. What was it about him that just stuck out to you, and why was it important to keep him home here in Central New York?
It's funny. The first time I watched Dang, he was in the state tournament. He was actually playing over at OCC, and I was recruiting somebody else. And he was a sophomore. And I kind of watched him, and I'm like, this kid's pretty good. He's like a wiry, really raw kid, but, he had potential. So I kind of starred his name on the catalog as somebody to look at and follow. Being a local kid, you always try to find the local talent and recruit the local talent when you can. And his junior year, he came in, and you could tell how much he had improved from his sophomore year to junior year. And I watched a holiday tournament, actually, at Bishop Grimes. There was a team from Buffalo that had a kid we were recruiting at the time. And one of my good friends, Kevin Roth, was an assistant at the school, so they were playing Bishop Grimes. And Dang had another good performance there. And, he had really improved from his sophomore year to junior year. And then he took another big leap in his senior year. And you just saw the potential that he had. Again, still pretty raw. He was young. I mean, Dang's the youngest player on our team as a redshirt freshman. So it kind of tells you that the youth that he has, and his body's still continuing to grow and mature. And I think, when you see Dang, the one thing that always sticks out to me is his maturity. He's a great student, great person, and he's a tireless worker. And that's, the type of kids that you can have fun coaching, and you see kind of that growth process that they go through. And, in a time where they, a lot of kids kind of use the transfer portal, and it's a popular thing to do, you still get the the process of going through 4 years and understanding the growth of a student athlete, and I think you're starting to see that with Dang. The thing with Dang is he needed to put a lot of weight on coming in as a freshman, and he put on 20 pounds last year, and he could stand to use another 20 pounds. But the one thing with Dang is he works, and you see that just kind of love that he has for the game and love that he has for the process of growing as a basketball player, and it's starting to pay off for him. So really proud of him, and I think, when you see a kid that just continuously improves, makes it a lot easier for you as a coach.
Yeah, we look at what he did, and like you said, Dang won the Northeast Conference, the NEC Rookie of the Week. You spoke about going 2-0 recently in your last couple games inside of the NEC, and within that time, he averaged 15 points, 2.5 assists, 2 steals, 1.5 rebounds within those couple games. Shot 60% from the field, 9 of 15, 75%, 6 of 8 from three-point range, and went a perfect 6 for 6 at the charity stripe. He stands at 6'6". So seeing what he is able to do at the charity stripe, which has been a problem for some teams out there, and I used the hashtag free throws matter, I want to say like a decade ago at least, but they definitely do. What Dang has done inside of the arc, outside of the arc, at the charity stripe, I mean, to be named Rookie of the Week is great, but he's had an all-around game here, and we've seen him get steals, get assists, and put himself in other situations on the stat sheet to be valuable to this team beyond points. Just what that means to watch his all-around game excel to the honors of being NEC Rookie of the Week.
I think if you know Dang at all, you understand that it's not about personal recognition for him. He wants the team to win, and whatever he has to do to make the team win is what he's going to do. Something that we needed, honestly, was just a spark on the defensive side of the ball, and he's been doing that. I know he only averaged like 1.5 rebounds last week, but in the Wagner game on Thursday, he had like 5 or 6 times where he went in on the offensive side to get the rebound and maybe tipped it or kept the play alive, or even tipped the ball out of bounds, and allows us to reset our defense. And those are things that when you see somebody doing that, it goes a long way with defensive success, but also team success, and it becomes contagious. And I think you saw that at the end of the Wagner game. We had two separate possessions where in a crucial time in the game we end up with the offensive rebound. I think a lot of that starts with the way that Dang was crashing the glass, and something you'll never see in the stat sheet is guys that crash and put pressure on defensive rebounding. So you see that, and then for us it came up big in the last last couple possessions of the Wagner game, and helped us ultimately win that game. And then you saw that again against Chicago State. We ended up out-rebounding them by 10, and that was a team that we got out-rebounded by in double figures at their place earlier in the year. And so I think you're seeing a little bit of that, effect of just continuously doing things that, help the team win, that are outside of scoring, like you said. But that's just who Dang is. And like I said, he's going to be doing things on the court that help your team win ultimately.
Here with Nate Champion this morning in this edition of the Dolphin Dive in our exclusive multimedia marketing partnership with Moyne College, here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora from inside of the Great Lakes Honda City Studios. The other two gentlemen that you mentioned, AJ Dantzler, I want to get to him and your thoughts, as well as Nate Fouts, to go a little bit deeper into what you've seen out of these guys this season. You said that they've stepped into leadership roles. They've been behind somebody, watching somebody, and now they've had the opportunity to excel themselves. Watching Nate and AJ last year, there's moments, right? There's flashes, and I remember specifically some things with Nate last year that stuck out to me. What are you seeing from Nate and AJ this year in those leadership roles that you really feel like have been a component that's been consistent from game to game with these guys as far as what you need from the team, specifically AJ and Nate, what some of that consistency looks like?
Honestly, I think with both of them, you see growth. Like, they're only sophomores, and
Yeah.
to have sophomores step up and play significant roles and kind of be thrown into those situations, you don't get those opportunities that they're getting at the Division I level very often. But you do see them growing in those roles and understanding, what creates a successful leader and trying to, grow with that role as well. And I'll start with Nate, but one of the things that you see Nate do that's different than what he's, done in the past or what he's had to do in the past is his energy, it's really contagious, and having his teammates back on the court, I think, is something that you're seeing in a growth process with Nate Fouts that is awesome to see. And he's a 3-year guy, kind of the same as Dang, where he came in as a redshirt, in redshirt his first year, and really used the weight room and ability to be in a college program to his advantage, and played behind Luke Sutherland last year, and was kind of hoisted into that starting forward role for us this year. And just see him grow and continue to grow. And I think, as he does that, he's just going to continue to get better. And, it's great to see him just embracing that role and embracing learning and understanding that it's not always going to be perfect. And on the same note, AJ Dantzler is doing pretty much the same thing. He started off kind of playing a backup role this year, and, he was a little banged up early in the year, and so we kind of had him coming off the bench, and he's hoisted himself into that starting guard role and has really embraced the learning process of what it takes to be a successful starting point guard, and understanding that it's not always perfect and it's not always going to be perfect. But, as the point guard and as somebody that has to be a leader on the court, understanding what that means, what that looks like, how to be successful in that role. I think AJ's been somebody that has really grown up throughout the year, and I'm really proud of what he's been doing. Obviously, him being an Indiana guy, he took a big leap of faith and trusted me to bring him out here, to Syracuse, New York. And I don't know if he really loves the mornings like he's had lately with, a foot and a half of snow or whatever it is that's on the ground. But, I think him just kind of trusting in our relationship and understanding, the opportunity that he's been given here, and being able to take advantage of the opportunity that he's been given is something that, I've been really proud of AJ for. And he continues to learn. He's got a lot more that he can learn, and a lot more before he reaches his ceiling. But, I think both of those guys have just kind of embraced the role they've been given and embraced learning and understanding what it takes day in and day out to be successful at this level. And you're starting to see it pay off for them.
Yeah, you talk about guys that, like you said, going through the process, growth. What growth have you seen from Willamika? You went out and brought a young man that calls Central New York home back home. He is a state champion with West Genesee. He was in Albany, went through a lot of injuries. I know him as family. I know him as a little brother. Been around Will for a long time. And to bring him in, and I got to see him in the Dome in that first game when Moyne went and played up against Syracuse this season, and you guys were right there within a possession really, really late with just a few seconds to go down the stretch to take down Syracuse. And so when we go back to that game and see some of the things he's done, as well as throughout the entire season, it's funny because he's listed as a grad student, but he has more eligibility. I think Will is going to get a doctorate by the time he's done, Nate, but you can correct me on that if I'm wrong. But just what your thoughts are on having Will on this team. He had the game taken away from him multiple times due to injury. So he is an older player, yet he has more time to be on the court. He has leadership. He knows what it takes to win a championship. He knows what it takes to be a team with a chip on their shoulder and being counted out. He's seen a lot of adversity. He's responded to it well. And Then he comes home to Lemoyne. I consider him an asset because I've known him for a long time. I believe you do too, or you wouldn't have brought him on to this Dolphins team. But just what you could say about Will and what he brings.
I mean, I think Will is kind of in the same boat as, like, Nate Fouts and AJ, as weird as that seems to say. Like, Will has really only played 1 year of college basketball before this year, and so there's a lot of learning. Yeah. He's changing programs too, so you got to learn the way that we do things and understand how we want them done. I think just the growth for Will has been pretty big through this year. Obviously, missed a couple games earlier in the year after we played St. Bonaventure's due to a calf, issue. But since coming back, he's been healthy, which has been great to see. And I think Will brings some different things to the table with his speed and athleticism. I think Will's had to learn other things that he's embraced and just kind of understood what it takes to remain on the floor and how to do things properly in our program. But Will's been in such a bright spot for us because nobody really knew what he could do. Nobody knew kind of where he was health-wise. I think he kind of understood the challenge that we were going to give him, and he's really embraced that. And Will's been great for our team and has provided a spark for us. Being a guard that comes off the bench can really change the pace and do some things for us, that affect the game in a positive way.
And there's another local guy who comes back, and that's Trevor Rowe, going from Fayetteville Manlius out to Radford and then out in Virginia and then finding his way back to Syracuse. I know that he's a guy in the background right now. I know that this is something that, is a future move, potentially a chess move. But what can you say about Trevor Rowe, a son of Matt Rowe who played at Syracuse? What stuck out to you about him to bring him in? He's a redshirt freshman. He's got plenty of time in college to obviously get himself out onto the floor. But just for one of those faces that we don't see, why you think he might be a good part of the future for Lemoyne?
I think Trevor just has a lot of potential, honestly. I mean, he knows some of the things that he has to do. We speak with Trevor, every day. We get to see him at practice. Unfortunately, he missed a year due to injury.
Yeah.
But I'm hoping is going to be back on the floor here soon. And I think Trevor shows a lot of potential and just his ability to kind of have the height that he has, his ability to shoot the ball the way that he does. There's a lot of potential there, and I think him being around the program, he understands what it's going to take for him to be on the court and play for us, and I think he's willing to do that. Obviously, him being a redshirt at Bradford last year, he had a lot of hope to come in this year and play right away and contribute to the team's success. But unfortunately, his season was cut short with injury, and luckily for us, his cousin Nate Fouts is someone that he gets along really well with, and he lives with Nate and Trent Mosquera and Kalen Thomas, and has a great set of roommates, and I think that's helped him throughout this tough time that he's been going through. But one of the things with Trevor is I think he's willing to do the work, and if he is willing to do the work that it's going to take for him to be on the floor with us, then I think the potential for him to be a positive contributor to this program is something that's ahead of him. And I think one of the things that we've had a lot of success with is being able to have local talent on our team that does have success on the court, and being able to maximize that talent when we get it. You go back to Luke Sutherland, and now Nate Fouts and Dang and Trevor and Will. I think all these guys that have kind of come back and played for Lemoyne are able to make a positive impact one way or the other.
Yeah, and I think it's great, and it's a true testament to the talent that's here in Central and Upstate New York. Of your talent, Nate, you have utilized the transfer portal. You've also, like you said, done something that's atypical for today's college basketball, especially in Division One, which is bring a guy in who's a redshirt and work with them, have them grow, have them develop, not just not just have an entire team of transfers, which we have seen those out there. Syracuse down the road, majority of a new team. We've seen it with Memphis as well. But in the case of your team, you've still wanted to get those young guys in, guys you can develop, guys that can redshirt and see what they can do, see the talent, see the potential. And at the same time, you mixed it with guys from UT Arlington as well as Siena, Radford in the case of Trevor, as you mentioned, and then with Robbie Carmody coming from Notre Dame and Mercer. And just for you, how has this dance of the transfer portal as well as the normal recruiting of prep school and high schools, how has this gone for you? Because you got to be really smart as a coach. Obviously, at the end of the day, you're looking for a certain type of character. You're looking for a certain type of student. It goes beyond simply being an athlete if you want to be a good coach and have good young men. So I know a lot goes into your recruiting, but you and I have talked about this over the years of using the portal. How much do you use it? So seeing what you've seen from this team so far, what has this dance been like between the portal and our typical recruiting?
I think you kind of hit on it with being able to find the right character in the person that you're recruiting. Whether it's someone that's looking for a different situation, from their previous school, via the portal or junior college or whatever it is, and then high school. If you get the right character, if you get the right person, you can mix both of them. It's easy to look at student athletes and see the talent that one presents or the talent that one has and just want to go for that. But I think it's really important, especially with where we're at Lemoyne, being able to find somebody that fits not only our program but our school as well. And we've tried to do that, via the transfer portal, but also finding the right high school student athletes that are going to come in and affect our program in a positive way too. And you got guys like AJ and Fouts and Dang that have kind of come in and are showing that now and playing. And then you also have guys like Robbie and Dwayne, O'Cipher, those types of guys that, and Will too, that have kind of come in and fit in with what we're doing on the court too. And I think one of the things with me is try to get your staples, like the guys that you can really build your program with, and freshmen. And I think every program has them. I mean, you look at a team like Duke, bring in really good freshmen, but they have transfer guys that are great pieces and great leaders for those freshmen to learn from as well. Guys that have been to national championships and like Mason Gillis and you guys, Malik Brown, who obviously from Syracuse, yeah. But all guys that I think those younger guys can really learn from. And that's what we try to do here. Get guys that understand, what it's like at other schools, what it's like at this level, but are hungry to have success. And guys that younger players can learn from. And I look back to last year's team. You had older players like Luke and Kai, Mike DePersia, who is on our staff now and is a huge piece to what we're doing. He was a great leader and was somebody that I think AJ could really learn a lot from. Someone like Isaiah Salter, who again was a great leader, and AJ and Dan could really learn a lot from. And then Luke Sutherland is somebody that was in our program for 3 years and able to have success and kind of show Nate Fouts what it's like to work at it and continue to grow in those roles. And I just think when you use the portal, it's to fill in some holes that you may have or to enhance your program. But you got to find guys that are also going to enhance the culture that you have and enhance the program as a whole. And part of that is being a great fit for Lemoyne. You know, if you're a great fit for Lemoyne, that goes a long ways too. Lemoyne's a great spot and a great place to be, a great education that you're going to receive, but also a great campus community. And if you can fit in well at Lemoyne, it can take you a long ways.
And coming here from Nate Champion here in this edition of the Dolphin Dive, head coach of the Lemoyne Dolphins men's basketball program in year 2 of their transition from NCAA Division 1 or Division 2, to Division 1. I want to take a look at your staff, Nate, as it's changed over time, but there are some that have obviously been familiar faces. Ben Morello, Ben Swank, still on the staff with you as assistant coaches. You brought in Elijah Burns this season, and you brought back, and you mentioned this guy throughout our conversation this morning, Mike DePersia, as your director of basketball operations. So when you look at your staff right now, why Ben Swank? Why Ben Morello? Why have they stuck with you? In your opinion, like, why are they a good fit for Lemoyne? And then what has Elijah brought to the table? And then thirdly to that, on your coaching staff, why Mike DePersia was such an integral piece that you wanted to keep close after he finished up his time collegiately?
I'll start with Ben Swank. I mean, Ben's now been with us since, being Division 2, and also just he's a great person first, as someone that, for guys that we bring in, I think, he's ideally, if you're a parent, somebody that you want your kid to learn from and be around. And the other thing is, he's a really good recruiter and somebody that's been a staple for our program, bringing in talent year in and year out. But he also is great with our guys. He's a family man who takes that part of his life seriously. He's got, 2 younger children that have been, in the office and come to the office, and our guys love him. And I think, for me, as the head coach, you always want to have assistants that your players can learn from and look up to as well. And, Ben Swank's definitely one of those guys. He's been a huge help to me. Obviously, an older guy that's, won a national championship at the D2 level and has had success at the Division 1 level at Wisconsin Green Bay. He is someone that I think is a really important piece to our program and coaching staff. The other person is Ben Morello, who started with us as a graduate assistant, and I was lucky enough to coach Ben at Florida Southern College. And Ben's grown so much since being with us, as a grad assistant, coming in as someone that, was just finishing his playing career, and wanted to get into coaching, learning, so much with us, being that we used to only have one full-time assistant and a GA, and then a volunteer assistant. And, so he was kind of thrown into the fire quickly. And, he's done a great job of embracing that and worked his way up to full-time assistant. And he's learned so much, and I think has just been a great sounding board for some of our younger guys that have aspirations of, playing at the professional levels. And, bringing in someone like Elijah Burns, I thought was really important. Elijah was in a unique position last year. He was an assistant coach for Brian Beery at St. Rose College, and St. Rose decided it was going to shut down, halfway through the year. And so he was in a unique position where he had to coach players that, knew they weren't going to be coming back to St. Rose the next year. And he coached them into, having some success and winning some games that a lot of people didn't think they could win. And when you have somebody with that type of character that is going to take the job extremely seriously and take their career seriously, and they're only going to enhance the program through experience, and their ability to learn and grow as well in this position. I think Elijah's done exactly that. We put him in some situations where he has to learn and grow, and he's embraced that by continuing to recruit and grow his connections on the recruiting trail, but also as far as coaching, just understanding how to positively impact student athletes and young men. He does that at a really high level. So anytime you can have that on your staff, it's a great addition, and he's been exactly that for us. And then Mike DePersia, who we brought in as a transfer from IUPUI. Mike is somebody that you look at his stats in his playing career, and he affected the game in such a winning way. And the stats that he excelled in show that. He was almost a 3-to-1 assist to turnover ratio, led our team in steals, in both years that he was here, and is a great leader, someone that's a fierce competitor and somebody that, affects the game in winning ways when he played and has continued to do that as a coach. He's fiery, he's energetic, and, he's a positive impact on our players, and someone that, holds a special place in my heart, being, that he was a player of mine. So, he's embraced the role of director of operations, put a lot of stuff on his plate, obviously with travel and that, but he's also, involved in what we do every day in our program and learning a lot. Has a bright future in the coaching profession if he chooses to continue down that path. So, Mike is one of the program, and you smile looking back and knowing how big of an impact he left on our program and continues to leave as he now transitions into the coaching world and the coaching side of things.
Yeah, and like you said, I mean, this staff all having different pieces and different elements to it and different connections to you. Ben Swank's been with you for a while. Ben Morello, like you said, you coached. Mike DePersia, you coached as well. So Elijah Burns, for you to go a little bit deeper into that connection, why him? Why for you, for Elijah, did it make sense when we have all of these different kind of threads of this guy played for me, or this guy's been with me for a while? For Elijah, of anybody you could have gone out and gotten, what really stuck out to you when it came to Elijah Burns?
So we scrimmaged St. Rose last year at our place, and I just talked to him before the game, and then we talked after, and just the character and the way that he handled himself and kind of carried himself wasn't that of somebody that just finished his playing career and is trying to get into coaching and be a successful coach. Not only that, but his background, goes a long ways too, playing at Notre Dame and Siena, having success at both places, playing in the NCAA tournament. I thought it was someone that our staff could use, not only as a younger coach that, is ambitious and wants to be a great coach and be a head coach someday, which I do think he will be, but also someone that is very hungry to learn and very hungry to make a program successful and do his part in that. And I thought Elijah just was the perfect fit for us, and it's held true, and he's affected our program in a great way. But I thought with us in the growth of our program and where we're at in Division II, in the second year of Division I, the part that I thought with our staff that we could use is somebody that was from, this level and played at this level and could relate to the kids that he was going to come in and work with. And, having conversations with Elijah and kind of staying in contact with him throughout last year and getting to know him a lot better. He's just somebody that has a really bright future in the coaching profession, and I'm really glad that he's on our staff.
Yeah, coming from Nate Champion. Nate, I got one more thing to hit with here, looking at the schedule and what you've had so far. We look at the standings of the Northeast Conference, the NEC. Central Connecticut's first, LIU second, FDU, and then Stonehill. When we look at some of those teams that are in the top four, your game against LIU, 78-62. Looking here, and you'll have another crack at them. That'll be at home on Saturday, this coming Saturday, February 22nd at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. I look at FDU, a team that you took out last year. Now, FDU had played spoiler inside of the NCAA tournament within the last couple of years here, a 16 seed taking down one-seeded Purdue. Last year when you faced them in the NEC and took them out of the NEC tournament in the first round of that tournament, they still had some carryover, be it assistant coaches as well as student athletes from that team that defeated Purdue. In your games against FDU this season, 78-74, just 4 points there in that matchup that you had against them. And then earlier on in the season, double overtime. They both ended up being losses for Moyne, but you've pushed FDU to the brink, brought them to 2 extra periods the first time around at home for Military Appreciation Night at Ted Grant Court at Moyne, and then the second time around on the road. And then when it comes to Stonehill, you defeated Stonehill 73-72. So just what you could say, knowing that you have Stonehill again, you have Central Connecticut State again, LIU again. These games that you played against the top 4 in the conference have been close. You've had moments, especially against FDU, and you've had a victory against Stonehill. What does that say about Moyne that the record doesn't say?
I think that it just shows that we can play with anybody in our league. Like I said, we've been through a lot of adversity this year, and sometimes it takes a little longer to gel than other times. And I thought a lot of that had to do with the injuries that we went through at the beginning of the year. In the non-conference play, that's usually a time where you can, fix some of the things that you see and kind of go through some hardships if you need to. And I just thought we just had a lot of injuries. We had guys that were in and out of lineups and trying to find the right, group to go with. And one of the things that we've done lately is our groups really come together. And I think, anytime that you can get a shot at the top 3 or 3 of the top 4, down the stretch, it can really kind of show you where you're at and where you need to be at before the conference tournament starts. So, FDU has been a fun little challenge for us as far as always having some really good games with them. We split last year and then beat them in the NEC tournament. They took both of them this year, in really close games. And, I have a lot of respect for Coach Castleberry and what he does. And obviously, Stonehill will be the last game of the year for us this year. Having worked with Chris Krause as my first ever, college coaching gig after playing, I have a lot of respect for what Chris did, and they had a rough year last year. Kind of, got bit with the injury bug early and just could never really get healthy. But for him to do what he's doing with that group this year and to be in the top half of the league heading into the last 2 weeks of the conference season, it just shows what type of coach he is and what he can do with that program. And then, Central Connecticut, they've been at the top of the league for the 2 years that I've been here, and I think they do a great job there. And then LIU, they've been really good this year and have a lot of talent. So it'll be a great challenge for us moving forward. I think, start tomorrow with St. Francis, PA, who they beat us at their place. So it'll be a great challenge for us as well. And, we'll see what we can do here in the last 2 weeks and hopefully have some success moving into the conference tournament and see if we can make some noise.
Yeah, and definitely made some noise. Almost played for the conference championship last year inside of the NEC. Moyne did in their first season in transition from NCAA Division II to Division I. You can see your Dolphins, as Coach said, this Thursday, February 20th at 7 p.m. at Ted Grant Court against St. Francis, PA. and this Saturday, February 22nd at 4 p.m. against LIU before they head on the road for their final 2 games of the regular season in preparation for the NEC tournament. And they will get a crack at 3 of the top 4 in these last 4 games: LIU, CCSU, and Stonehill. Nate, as always, it's an honor and a privilege to have the opportunity to have you on the show and talk with you. Thank you for all the time and breaking down the roster, the coaching staff this season, and just kind of the vision of the program. And obviously I'll be looking forward to talking with you very soon, and appreciate all the work that you're doing and hope for continued success.
Thanks, Dan. Really appreciate that, and look forward to seeing you soon.
All right, take care. Be safe. That coming from Nate Champion. One more time here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. Mr. Champion with us on the road as he was recruiting in the Northeast. I'm not telling you where. But he was recruiting in the Northeast and getting himself ready for the future of this program. So as he plans out the current season, gets ready for the future as well. And that shows a good coach, right? Somebody who is looking at everything that you have now, everything that you have going, focused on the task at hand, and at the same time building toward the future. It's a delicate dance. It's a difficult dance, and I don't think it's talked about enough how these coaches have to coach within the season, watch film, train, break stuff down. I mean, you got to do all this stuff. You have to have your workout regimen, right? You have to have them lifting. You have to have them running. You have to have different things for individuals, maybe guys that are coming back from injuries. You have to have treatment that's going on and have that ready and prepared, and have a schedule for all of that. On top of all of those things, you have nutrition. On top of that, you have practice. Then you have film. You break down the practice film. You break down the game film. Then you go and you play the game itself. You coach within the game itself. You scheme within the game itself. All the while, you're looking at the future. What am I getting next year, the year after that? Recruiting down the road. So this is not a simple thing to do as a coach. Plus, you have the transfer portal and everything else that has come with collegiate athletics. The work of a coach has only gotten more difficult, and guys like Nate Champion, I appreciate for continuing to be himself. And, you know, we've had these extended conversations for years now, and he has continued to break down the game, break down the team, why he has this, still staying true to recruiting out of high school, out of prep school, and not simply going for the portal, looking for character guys, looking for guys that are going to be a good fit for Le Moyne and what Le Moyne provides. So I appreciate all of that, and that means a lot to me. So shout out to Mr. Nate Champion for the work that he does and the time that we've gotten to spend together. I really do appreciate it. With that being said, we're going to take a step aside on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Great Lakes Honda City Studios. We will be back momentarily for our special with the Navy Midshipmen. You will finally get to see my one-on-one looking back on the 2024-25 season, where they won the Army-Navy game in massive, in a massive statement, 31-13. I was there on site on location at the Army-Navy game right outside of D.C. in Landover, Maryland, at the home of the Washington Commanders. So we will discuss that. You will also hear about the fact that this American athletic team, this military institution, took down the SEC in Oklahoma. We'll talk about all of that and more with my friend and your head coach of the Navy Midshipmen, Brian Newberry, right after this.
Hi, this is Amy from Mother's Cupboard, home of the Whole Frittata. We are open daily 6 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. For takeout orders, call 315-432-0942 and tune in to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora for our monthly food challenge, and try our Wake Up Call signature menu item available 7 days a week. Here at Mother's Cupboard, we are Central New York, and it's our honor to serve you.
Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory remind us that every day is worth celebrating at 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York. Open Monday through Saturday in-store and always online at maandpaspopcorn.com. Serving our Central New York community and beyond, order anywhere, anytime at maandpaspopcorn.com. Stop in to get a tin at Ma and Pa's on 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York to get your half-price refills for the rest of your life. Come to Ma and Pa's for your holiday gift giving for family, friends, employees, and clients. And remember, for fundraising and events, to call 315-450-6272. That's 315-450-6272. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory. How corny are you?
This is Jimmer Sikowski, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Cicero, 7916 Brewerton Road in Cicero, right in front of the Home Depot. I had a deep feeling that God wanted me to do something bigger with my life and to help people, help others. He kept putting Chick-fil-A in my life, and I realized as I was going through the franchise selection process that positively impacting the lives of others was really core to what we do here at Chick-fil-A. First of all, it starts with the food. The food is brought in fresh daily, and we bring in local produce. We prepare to order in the kitchen. We hand bread our chicken. We hand spin our milkshakes. It's great food. It doesn't taste like fast food. I think the second thing is the way people feel when they come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. It's different. We try to treat people with intentional kindness here, which is very different and deeper than good customer service. And so I think it feels remarkable for most people to come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. And then lastly, the impact that we try to have in the community is very different. It's a big part of the expectation of every operator of a Chick-fil-A restaurant is that they're actively engaged in their community, they're a leader in the community, and they're making a difference. When they realize that what we're striving to do is to shine a little light in their life, that's a very, very different experience than you will have in any other quick service restaurant. And it's that remarkable experience that I think people will emotionally connect with.
Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets life. We are inside of the Great Lakes Honda City Studios. Great Lakes Honda City on 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York, and has a vast array of vehicles, new and used. It's where I get all my cars. I put my money where my mouth is, literally. So head over to Great Lakes Honda City today and see why I've chosen them for over a decade, and you can find out more at greatlakeshondacity.com. With that being said, picture in picture with Brian Newberry. Him and I have made a habit of this here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, Navy midshipman head football coach, reflecting on the 2024-25 season and stepping forward into 2025-26. Coach, how are you?
Doing great. Good to see you.
Good to see you too, and happy to have you here on the broadcast. And you know, I got to go into the elephant in the room game. I talked to you about the Army-Navy game in the past. I've had the opportunity to watch it. It's typically around the time that my mom and dad and I would go get our Christmas trees and cut them down. And this year, I was like, I got to be there. I can't just watch this thing on TV anymore. And got to go out to D.C. and then Landover, Maryland, and the Commanders Stadium to experience what this was like. Just bring me into what you see from you. I mean, do you allow yourself to, because I know you're focused, you're watching film going into it. This is an extremely high-intensity game. Nobody wants to lose this game. But do you allow yourself to have any of the pageantry, any of the looking out and seeing all of the midshipmen and just this sea of white that is everywhere? Do you allow yourself to kind of live in the moment at all during the Army-Navy game or prior to that?
Yeah, I'm human, and you can't help but feel that pageantry and the patriotism when you walk in there. And I always, take a moment, before the game, just so grateful to be a part of it, and then if you have time to breathe, which I did kind of toward the end of the game, late in the fourth quarter, you try to take it in the course of the game as well. And then afterwards, you kind of let it all hang out and really take it in. That's where the kind of the emotion of everything sets in.
Yeah, and like you said, you gave yourself the opportunity to have that. What brought you to? I know that you came onto Ken Niumatalolo's staff when he was the head coach at Navy, but what was it about Navy? Because it's so interesting, because it's so unique, this Naval Academy for the United States, that you're not just a head coach of student athletes, you're a head coach of people that are protecting the world, not even just this country. What about this opportunity when Ken gave it to you made you think this could be the right fit for me?
Well, I think you get into coaching to have an impact. I know the reason I considered coaching was because the impact that my high school coaches had on me was pretty profound. And what makes, I've coached great young everywhere that I've been. Just seem to have a lot more here at the Naval Academy. So you have the opportunity to impact the lives of young men that are going on to serve and lead in our military, and so it's even a bigger kind of responsibility and a privilege to be able to do that. It makes it a little bit more meaningful.
And having that opportunity come about, and now seeing success. We saw Navy. I've covered Navy for over a decade. I've seen the midshipmen come into the American Athletic Conference after being independent and have immediate success. And then there was some sustaining of success at times, and then there were dips and kind of ebb and flow of things. And now we're seeing an uptick with the midshipmen here in this past season and kind of building up to this past season. What do you attribute this road to? Because you were a part of it as a defensive coordinator for a while, and now as the head coach of the midshipmen. What can you say about the resurgence of this? Because I was waiting for this pendulum swing to come back in Navy's favor, and we've seen that. How did it happen, in your opinion?
Well, I think there's a lot of factors involved, and the season that we had, and take a look at recruiting. What we've been able to do the last couple of years. You look at how we're developing our players, and when I first got hired, on the strength and conditioning staff was Jim Carizzi. I think he's done a phenomenal job of developing our players. I think we look a little different right now. We're moving a little different. I think the staff that I've assembled here is tremendous. The addition of Drew Cronick as the offensive coordinator obviously had a huge impact on our season and on our program. And the emergence of Blake Horvath. For us to be good here at the academy, and look at the history of when Navy's played good football, we've had good quarterbacks.
Yeah.
And we really have that right now. And so I think it's a culmination of a lot of different things. Me getting more comfortable in the role as the head coach, and getting settled into that, and having a better understanding of who our team is, and knowing our players better, and them knowing me better. But tremendous staff. I think we're recruiting really well. We're developing our players, and we're retaining our players as well.
Yeah, you spoke about your quarterback, Blake Horvath. Just what you saw from him this season, what you saw from him and his resolve in the Army-Navy game. I mean, we come into that game, and Bryson Daly is a nationally known name, and he obviously did an incredible job as far as touchdowns and the work that he did in Army's offense. But here's Blake Horvath on the other side, and it's kind of like one of those things like in that Army-Navy game where there's so many eyes on it. If you don't know, now you know. It's kind of what it felt like. What can you say about Horvath and what he's done and how he's evolved and just what element he brings to your offense?
Yeah. Well, first and foremost, he's a great kid, a great young man. Has all the intangibles you want, in a quarterback. He's really tough. I think a lot of people don't understand some of the injuries he dealt with during the middle part of the season, and played with some of those injuries that a lot of people wouldn't have played with. But just a phenomenal young man, obviously really talented. He was an under center guy in high school, has really developed as a passer. I think he's a perfect fit for what we're doing offensively, where I wanted to take this offense. Having the ability to get under center and execute the triple and read it well and deal it well and all those things, and then the ability to get in the gun and to do some of the things we're doing there that are more in the spread world, more RPO and running some option out of the gun, he's able to do that pretty seamlessly. And really, he's kind of a perfect fit for what we want to do and how our offense has evolved. And he'll continue to get better. I mean, he didn't play as a freshman, broke his hand early on his sophomore year, really his full season of playing. I'm excited to see how he makes progress, this off season, this spring, and he's an exceptional player.
Yeah, to go into some of the numbers here for this season, Blake Horvath threw a school record tying 13 touchdown passes. When you talk about this offense, tied Ricky Dobbs, who threw 13 in 2010, and Horvath accounted for 4 touchdowns in Navy's 31-13 victory over Army in that Army-Navy matchup in our nation's capital, rushing for 196 yards, 2 touchdowns on 24 carries, throwing for 107 yards, and 2 passing touchdowns. He had the game-tying touchdown against Oklahoma on a school record 95-yard touchdown run and gave Navy the lead on a 6-yard scoring run with 4:34 remaining in that bowl game. We also look at the fact 1,246 yards rushing is the first Navy player to rush for 1,000 yards in a season since 2019, when we saw Malcolm Perry do it when he had 2,017 yards. First Navy quarterback to surpass 1,000 passing yards in a season since 2019. Also Malcolm Perry, who threw for 1,084 yards. The 1,353 passing yards are the most by a Navy player since Will Worth threw for 1,397 in 2016. And he's the third quarterback in school history to rush and pass for more than 1,200 yards in the same season, joining Keenan Reynolds, who I have a card of with the Baltimore Ravens, in 2015, and also Chris McCoy in 1997. And he finished as the number 9 graded runner, all positions of a minimum 150 attempts by Pro Football Focus. So just absolutely, that's just naming a few things. If you watched him play and what he could do in a game, and just how him and the offense took over the Army-Navy game. We're discussing Blake Horvath. We know he has more time. He has more to give to this midshipman program and this offense. But we're talking about a team that is now passing and running the ball, doing it successfully, and doing something that hasn't been done in a lot of cases in 5 years, which is talking about your offense being multiple, Brian, which I don't think a lot of people prepare for things like that.
No, I think it's. I love what we're doing. What Coach Cronick brought in, the wing T roots and background, and some of the spread things that he was doing at Mercer before he left there, and you take those things and you kind of marry it up with some of the things that we've done around here in the past to have a lot of success, and it becomes something that's really, really hard to defend, and it will continue to evolve. But to have a guy like Blake, making the decisions and being your trigger guy allows you to do a lot of unique things, and not only just to do them, but to do them well. And the thing that most people don't really think about too is he put those numbers together, and we had a lot of lopsided victories, especially early on in the year where he didn't play for a quarter and a half of those games. Didn't play an entire game for the most part against Tulane, and played banged up. And so what he did was exceptional, especially when you consider some of the things he was dealing with and then not playing full games.
Yeah, and like you said, if we had him in a full go, what could these numbers have even evolved to? Here with Brian Newberry, the head coach of the Navy Midshipman football program, here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Great Lakes Honda City studios. There was a stat that I looked at before, and now reflecting on it at the end of the season, really incredible when we talk about what you can do in the turnover world. Because you and I spoke after the Notre Dame game where the midshipmen, and I think you would agree with me, and we already spoke about this, with all the turnovers, you played against yourself, essentially. When we look at what you did in victories this season, outscoring your opposition in points off of turnovers, 104 points to 7, and in your losses, outscored 48-0. So it really shows you, a direct, obviously parallel with winning those games when you're getting points off of turnovers, losing those games where it's on the other end. But 104 to 7 points in score off of turnovers in those victories. Just what you could say about what your defense did, you being a defensive-minded guy, and seeing how that defense created opportunities for your offense and took full advantage of those opportunities. I know you'd love for all of those to be victories, but in those victories, points off of turnovers 104-7.
Yeah, I mean it's absolutely critical, and obviously it's something that everybody talks about. But we spend a tremendous amount of time working on that ball security on offense, um, taking the ball away on defense, and really opportunistic on defense this year. I was proud of the way that we were able to do that. Yeah, I mean it's all in the numbers. When we won the turnover battle, we were undefeated, and when we didn't, it was tough sledding for us. So absolutely have to take care of the football here, and it's the team that plays the hardest makes the fewest mistakes. And the teams that usually win the games, and so that's something that's been critical for us, and we'll continue to put a tremendous amount of emphasis on those things, moving forward.
For you, as you've evolved as a head coach, coming in and being a defensive coordinator, have you seen yourself kind of expand more into the special teams world, more into the offense world? Because whenever they talk about a coordinator to a head coach, it's always, well, which side do they lean on? Have you seen yourself become multiple and evolve as you've been the head coach here at Navy?
Yeah, I tell you, I've learned a lot of offensive football in the last couple of years, and I enjoy being involved in all of it. I think I probably spend more time during the day on the defense side of the football, more time during practice on the offensive side of the football, and as a head coach, you try to figure out where you can be the biggest asset for your program. And so I'm still trying to figure that out a little bit, but I've enjoyed being able to dabble on both sides of the football and special teams. And when you transition to being a head coach, there's things you miss about being a defensive coordinator. You miss the game planning piece of it, and the strategy goes behind it, calling it on game days. But I found some new enjoyment, and being able to dabble in all of it, and really pride myself in understanding what's going on, and really trying to figure out how I can be an asset, to our offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, and special teams coordinator.
Yeah, and in this season, being an asset, seeing how you can grow, how your student athletes, your coaching staff can grow. Picked to finish 11th in the American, you end up in the top 3. Something that I found, a couple things that I found really interesting this season is what you did scoring wise. 407 points scored in 13 games this season, comparative to what you had last season in your 12 games. It was almost 200 points more than what you did last season. So just what you could say to that effect in the scoring increase. And this other thing that I definitely found intriguing here, you were the only FBS team in the entire nation of 130 plus schools to play 2 home games in your final 10 games of the regular season. I mean, that's, to me, that's insane. Your road warriors, obviously, but just what you could say about the increase in point total, adding almost 200 points from last season to this season, and just what it was like being away from home, away from Annapolis, but obviously didn't affect you guys more often than not.
Yeah, well, and I spoke to it earlier, just the addition of Drew Cronick, and what he's been able to do. And really, you look at the 2 years ago, if you can score 7 to 10 points more a game, then you're winning 8 or 9 games. And we knew that if we could just improve a little bit offensively, we played pretty good defense around here for a while now, that would equate to a lot of wins. And obviously, there's still some things that we can do better. I'd like to dominate time of possession more than we did, but certainly when you're scoring points, that's the most important thing. So I think there's a lot more meat on the bone in regards to some things that that we can do a lot better around here, on both sides of the football. But love what we're doing offensively, and excited. I've never been more optimistic, excited about an off season, and trying to find ways to get better, and there's certainly ways that I know we can be better. And looking forward to seeing this offense evolve, and looking forward to seeing the growth and development of these players. And we've got some really good ones.
And like you said, when you go through this season, and you said you've never been more excited going into an off season, your ties to Oklahoma were obviously spoken about a lot going into the Armed Forces Bowl and this opportunity that you had against the Oklahoma Sooners. This win over the SEC, it's a great win for the Navy midshipmen. It says a lot against the argument of the military academies not being big enough or prepared enough or strong enough, and these things that I honestly personally can't stand hearing. But defeating an Oklahoma team that's in the SEC 21-20. We talked about Blake Horvath, the 95-yard touchdown run, which was the longest in school history for the Navy midshipmen. We look at this game and we see the fact of beating an SEC team. First time it's happened since 1954, and that 1955 Sugar Bowl at the end of it. So where you defeated Ole Miss, Navy midshipmen did as the academy here. But to get this win for you personally in your connection and your roots to Oklahoma, and to be able to end the season saying everybody focuses on Army-Navy, it's a massive game, it's huge, it has history of people that are in the military, are veterans of the military, are going to be in the military. So that game in and of itself is a massive exclamation point. And then you turn around and face an SEC school in Oklahoma and you defeat them. So for you, those ties and just what it says about the state of the Navy midshipmen defeating an SEC team after defeating Army in the Army-Navy game.
Yeah, those last two wins, obviously, Dan, are really big for our program and kind of put the cherry on top of a good season. There's no question about that. And we want to be significant in the landscape of college football. We want to be relevant. We want to be in the conversations, and we want to be a team that every time we step on the field, has a chance to win. If we take care of our business, and I thought we showed that toward the end of the year. I don't think many people expect us to win the Army game, and I certainly don't think many expected us to win that Oklahoma game. So really proud of our players, and I think we're transitioning. You got to learn how to win games. Especially when you haven't done that, for several years, and I think our kids started to do that, and now it's the expectation around here, and those two wins especially, great momentum obviously going into an off season, and a great way to finish things out. And for me personally, that was a pretty special moment, pretty full circle moment, as you can imagine. Playing a team that you grew up idolizing. Yeah. And going to the games when you were a kid. And so it was certainly a full circle moment for me, kind of surreal. But just tremendous to get a win over a program with such great history, an SEC program, and just create a lot of confidence and momentum, for our players, going into this offseason, moving forward.
What does it say about Navy and the American Athletic Conference? Because the narrative is, like I said, military academies can't hang, the American can't hang, the whole group of five moniker that gets put around conferences like the American. What does a win like that over Oklahoma do to kind of ripple effect and echo from 2024-25 into 2025-26?
I think the message that it sends is how important culture is in your program, and I think some of the things that are going on in college football right now are benefiting us. When you look at the transfer portal, high school players aren't getting as many opportunities as they used to. I think that's allowing us to recruit a higher caliber player coming out of high school. It's allowing us to be a little more selective. And then you're talking about a team that plays for each other. And not to say that you can't build a culture at some of these other bigger schools in the midst of the portal and NIL world and all that stuff. It's becoming more difficult, and I think it puts a spotlight on how important the trust piece of things is, how important it is that your players and your coaches care about each other, love each other, play for each other. And I think we play a really unselfish brand of football, and I think that's why you see us having some success right now. And so I think it sends a message to the rest of the college football world. This place is a unicorn, and we're still a developmental program, and there's merit to that. I think people are starting to see that.
And you talked about relationships. Now, I didn't think it was possible, but we did see that immediately after the Army-Navy game, Kanye Udo, their running back, went into the transfer portal. And like you said, it's something that at these military academies you don't really have to worry about and think about. High schoolers not getting as much opportunities gives you more of an opportunity as the Naval Academy to go and get them, go and get prep school kids. But when you saw that happen with Army and someone does go in the transfer portal, how difficult is it to leave a military academy? Because when you come in, I mean, you're obviously committing years of service, and there's different things that go along with it. So even though that happened, do you think that that's an anomaly? And for the most part, there is a protection because of a commitment that a person makes to the Naval Academy, that the transfer portal really is not going to be something that we see being used a lot, I guess I would say.
Well, there's some layers to that, Dan, but I do think it's an anomaly. You know, I think when a young man decides to play at one of the academies, it's not just about football. You know, it's not just about the next 3 or 4 years. It's about the next 40 years, right? And so I think these kind of young men see the value in that. And you know, we've had guys that had opportunities to leave here and go and make money and play in Power 4 programs, and they've elected to stay. You know, and I think this is a unique place. This is a true brotherhood here. These guys care about each other, and they don't want to let their brothers down. You know, and once you start something here and you understand the value of the degree, and you value serving your country, I think those situations are certainly going to be. Not to say they can't happen, obviously, and not to say we're not concerned about it to some extent, but just I don't think it's going to be an issue or a problem for us.
And my final note here, we talked about how you have evolved as a head coach, but PJ is your defensive coordinator. How do you have to catch yourself at times with PJ Volker and be like, well, I think you should do this, and then kind of step back and be like, no, do your thing. How well do you work off of each other? Because being a D coordinator and, like you said, leaning a little bit more on the defensive side, do you have to almost catch yourself at times and say, like, I got to let him manage this, and then we'll talk after he kind of schemes it out? How's kind of the back and forth between the two of you?
Well, him and I, we have a great relationship, and I trust him entirely. And so, you know, certainly times where I feel like that, or maybe I'd have made a different call, but I never second guess PJ. He's as well prepared as anybody that I've been around. I think he's done an exceptional job. You know, I was just telling him the other day, if I could go back and coordinate again, there's a lot of things that I would do differently because of the way that he's done them here. So the relationship's really good. That staff, defensive staff, is phenomenal. There's no egos in that room. There's no second guessing or anything like that. And you know, I was probably just as excited, maybe more so, to promote him to defensive coordinator than I was being the head coach. And so he's been tremendous, and he's always open to suggestion, and we talk through a lot of things. But you know, on game day, he does his thing, and I let him do it because he's really good at it.
Well, time, as always, when we talk, flies by, Coach. And, you know, I appreciate a lot of things from you. I appreciate our friendship more than anything else, and appreciate seeing your growth, the way you've always treated me. I mean, you've had a fantastic season. This season did a lot of great things to build upon. But I think it's important for the world to know that's listening to this and watching this, that the character that you have, the type of person that you are, being a man of your word, being consistent, and never being too big to reach out to anybody, me included. I just want to say thank you for the human being behind all of this music that we see on the field, because it's people like you that God has allowed me the opportunity and blessed me to cross paths with, and that never goes unnoticed by me. I want to see you win. I want to see you succeed, but you know that no matter what the record is, to me, you're the same. You've been consistent. And I just appreciate the fact that you've been a good man and a good person in my life, and probably to a lot of people. And I would find it wrong to not end on that note of saying thank you for just the character and the faith and the kindness and the generosity and humility that you bring to sports and really, honestly, to the world in general.
Thanks, Dan. I appreciate that, man. It means a lot coming from you. It really does. Always good to see you, and I appreciate you as well.
Here's a message from Renee from Brian's Landing, located on 6523 East Seneca Turnpike in Jamesville, New York. Open Tuesdays and Wednesdays for dinner, Thursday through Saturday for lunch and dinner, and Sundays for brunch.
It's a lot like the way that my mom and dad ran their restaurant. We have put in place a lot of people that are family to us, very similar to how my dad hired people that were family to him. And then the tradition I'm carrying on is a lot of the items that are on our menu are my dad's. And he taught our chefs how to recreate his dishes. So I think that Tommy McNerney, who our executive chef is, to him it is an art. And I think that when he does create a dish, it's not just about making the food taste delicious, which is definitely our priority, but it's an art to him, and it's almost like his canvas on a plate where he just wants the colors to look great, and people love it because he takes pride in that. And Brian and I appreciate that. We want it to obviously look good and taste good. I will tell you, when we opened up, it was 6 weeks before COVID. And what was amazing was the community, our friends and family stepped up, and everybody did takeout. Everybody supported us. Our hearts were just so filled. So to Brian and I, obviously our friends come all the time, and we just have repeat customers in Jamesville, and I think people going to our previous restaurant in Green Lakes are making the trip to come to Brian's Landing to support us. And I mean, I think we have great food and a great atmosphere. So it's very, very important to us.
Head to Brian's Landing, located on 6523 East Seneca Turnpike in Jamesville, New York, where memories have become recipes that are now meals to share with you. Tuesdays and Wednesdays for dinner, Thursday through Saturday for lunch and dinner, and on Sundays for brunch. And be sure to come out for live music Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Here is a special message from Brian Bruno, owner of Servomation Refreshments Incorporated.
I grew up in the family business, had the experience of working for a national food service company with thousands of employees, and as much as I enjoyed the experience I had, there was something about, owning my own company and being able to change the things I saw wrong with the industry firsthand, which is why I moved back to my hometown in Canastota, New York to launch Servomation. It was back in 2007. When we first started the business in 2007, really you didn't find any machines with credit card readers. There's a lack of variety in machines. You got stuck with basically whatever the vending company wanted to sell that day. There's a lot of inefficiencies in the business, and those were all things that we saw as opportunities, both from a customer level to improve and from an operating level to be more efficient. We've really been at the forefront of introducing retail technology into our space. We were doing self-checkout back in 2009 before it really became a national phenomenon. The whole point of it isn't to just improve the customer experience, it's to make it feel more like a retail environment where people don't have to be afraid of what they're buying behind glass. They don't have to be afraid of not being able to see the ingredients of the packages. It was an easy transaction from that standpoint. If we were to reinvent something, we wanted to make sure what we were making looked and felt more like a deli and not like something that you would traditionally see in a vending machine. I was tired of hearing for years the customers say the wheel of death because the vending machine would circle around with the same tuna salad in it. What we wanted to do was it really change the perception of that food. So allowing customers to touch it, allowing customers to feel the weight of it, allowing customers to see the freshness of it, and also the variety of it really helps them change the perception and ultimately the value of what we bring to them. The point of differentiation you have to make is either in value or the quality, and I think on both of those fronts, Servomation has really in large part changed that value system for employees, so they no longer have to worry about bringing their food from home or having to leave their desk during the day and rush out to get back in time for their break to end. We're bringing something that they can count on in their break room every day, and they know it's going to be there, they know it's going to be fresh, and they don't have to worry about it being sold out or something that they don't enjoy. We've also heavily invested in flavored water machine, so you can get a glass of water with a fresh piece of fruit in it, along with bean to cup coffee machine. So there's not a day that goes by we're not surprised when we get customers that call us and say, we didn't know you could do all this. We're really lucky to have a strong group of dedicated employees. Most of our employees have been with us since inception. They're family to us, and people like doing business with people they like and trust. And I think the same thing goes for employees. And in a day and an age where there's a lot of corporations that just look at an employee as a number and don't get to know them, that's just not the way I was raised or how I like to do business. So we're a little old-fashioned. We like getting close to our employees. We like knowing how we can help them. We like knowing how we can improve their lives, adjust their schedules, whatever it may be to help improve their quality of life. And we think in the end that makes for a happier employee. We're fortunate enough to have really grown over the last several years, and from Pennsylvania to Massachusetts to Connecticut, we really do have a strong connection, even though we're not in the rooms every day with these employees. There's not one single employee that we feel like we don't know, and certainly we know they can call us at any time, and they're definitely treated as family to us. I wake up every single day really excited to surprise our customers in a good way. The one thing I can tell you is I think that every one of our employees and every one of our customers will continue to be at the forefront of every decision we make.
Find out how Servomation can help you and your business by going to servomation.com. Avicoli's, located on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, has been your trusted neighbor for decades. Located just steps from Liverpool High School, we're happy to have the Liverpool Warriors on-site, on-location broadcast at Avicoli's through Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora every single month, featuring student athletes, coaches, and administration throughout the year from Liverpool High School. Head out to Avicoli's today on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, open Tuesday through Sunday for lunch, dinner, and drinks. We'd love to see you out there, and of course you can call them at 315-622-5100 for takeout, delivery, and catering. That's 315-622-5100, and also find them on myavicolis.com. That's myavicollis.com. Having peace of mind when you're out of town that your furry-loving friend is safe and sound means taking them to Canine Campground, because we all know that when it comes to the love of our pets, it goes well beyond the call of duty to make sure they're safe and sound. Right, Lily? So take a ride to 242 Johnson Street in East Syracuse, New York, and see Canine Campground and where your dog will be staying, in the classic cabin, the executive cabin, the grand cabin, or of course the luxury cabin, because if you know Lily, you know she loves luxury. Now you don't have to wait to the last minute to find a family member or a friend that'll take your dog for a few days. Call Canine Campground at 315-299-4013. That's 315-299-4013. Their drop-off and pickup times are Monday through Sunday. Check K9campground.com for more information. That's the letter K, the number 9, and campground spelled with a K.com. K9campground.com.
When you're going out of town, bring your dog to Canine Campground.
Looking for your next ride? Look no further than Great Lakes Honda City, located on 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Serving our community for decades, their new and pre-owned vast array of vehicles are available to you Monday through Saturday on site. To search from home, shop at GreatLakesHondaCity.com. Call 315-365-5576 to set up an appointment. That's 315-365-5576 for Great Lakes Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Great cars, great people, Great Lakes. And a welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. Appreciate you being here inside of the Great Lakes Honda City studios. Of course, Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. So however you're connected with the show, up and down the East Coast, the Midwest, the West Coast, and all around the globe, I thank you for being here with us on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt, facebook.com/wakeupcalldt, and on wakeupcalldt.podbean.com. So thank you for that. I appreciate you so very much. Jerry said, there are such common personality traits between Coach Newberry and Coach Monken. Both are very good men. So thank you, Jerry, for sharing that. Appreciate that. We just had the opportunity to bring you our conversation, our one-on-one with the Navy midshipman head football coach Brian Newberry, and recently here brought you our one-on-one conversation with the head coach of the Army Black Knights football program, Jeff Monken. You could check out these conversations on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. Jeff Monken's special is airing as its own piece, so we had it within our show, and then you can watch it as its own piece on our YouTube channel. And of course, today you're going to be able to watch Brian Newberry's special as its own piece as well. So very excited to be able to give you that again in a special second release outside of the show where it's its own special broadcast. And the Navy midshipmen have been absolutely terrific to me, and so has Army. I feel very grateful and blessed. As I've said many times here on the show, I am a proud grandson and grandnephew of those in the military academies, those that served in the United States Army, the United States Navy, and the United States Air Force in World War II. And my grandfather's, my grandpa Cavino, my mom's dad, served in the Navy in World War II. And my dad's dad, my grandpa Tortora, that I call Pop Miller, he served in the Army. So these conversations with the military and with the Army and the Navy and at the Army-Navy game, and my experience of that is very unique and special and meaningful to me. It's not simply a game. And that's what I talk with both coaches about, is the fact that for me, it's more than a game. It means far more than a game, because whoever wins, I like both coaches. I have a great relationship with both coaches. I have a great relationship with both institutions, and I've been able to speak with their student athletes and get to know some people there behind the scenes. And of course, so I have a lot of respect for the cadets, for the midshipmen, for the coaches, for the student athletes, for the institutions. And when you go to an Army-Navy game and you think about your grandfathers and your great uncles, I mean, to me, I've already won just by being there and having the ability to stand up and pay respect to them and stand there for the national anthem and just appreciate those moments. So those things mean a lot to me, and I can't thank God enough for them. And it's been a wonderful journey to be able to be around Navy for so many years with Ken Niumatalolo and now Brian Newberry, and then to finally have the opportunity to speak with Army within the last calendar year. And since speaking with Jeff Monken the first time, which is back in August, when we were down in Arlington, Texas together, right by Dallas, when we had the AAC kickoff for the first season in the American Athletic Conference for the Army Black Knights football program. That was the first time I got to speak with Jeff, and it was in person, and he sat to my right. We had the opportunity, that's on our YouTube channel as well, we had the opportunity to sit and chat. You could find that in the AAC playlist on our YouTube channel on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. And so that was the first time we got to talk. We've spoken plenty of times since then, and I want to thank Eric and everybody at the wonderful Army West Point for giving me the opportunity and the green light to speak with Coach Monken and the student athletes. And of course, I want to thank Scott and everybody over at the U.S. Naval Academy for all the work that you do and making Brian Newberry available, as well as the student athletes and the coaches and all the things that I've gotten to do with Navy as well. So, I mean, honestly, I can't say enough. Like I said, it means more to me than simply just two football programs. You know, it's a lot deeper for me. So much appreciation, much respect, and much love to both institutions. And of course, much love to the Air Force as well, in representation of my great uncle Pat, who served in World War II. And can't say enough about my love for the military academies. So with that being said, I do want to get into some stuff before we finish up today's broadcast, A Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Those of you that watched Syracuse basketball last night, they played their rival, right? They played Pitt. People say it's not a rivalry anymore because Jamie Dixon's not there and Jim Boeheim's not at Syracuse, or it's not a rivalry anymore because Pitt wins the majority of the time, or it's not a rivalry anymore because both teams haven't been that great and haven't, been perennial NCAA tournament teams, whatever they want to say. But this is a Northeast rivalry. To me, it's a rivalry. It's been a rivalry. It's going to continue to be a rivalry. People think Syracuse, Georgetown, Syracuse, UConn, Syracuse, Villanova, maybe Syracuse, St. John's, maybe a little bit of that. But especially with Rick Pitino being an assistant under Jim Boeheim at Syracuse, and now he's at St. John's, so that'd be cool to see them. But if Rick Pitino came and played this Syracuse team, I think he'd win pretty handily this year. And that's not a disrespect to Syracuse. I'm an impartial broadcaster, and you see what I see, and you see what Rick Pitino's doing at St. John's. You see what's happening at Syracuse. I would venture to say that St. John's would probably get a 20-point victory, be it at the Dome or away from the Dome. So I don't think it really matters where they would play that game. I think Pitino right now will get that victory. Well, Syracuse yesterday came out to an early 9-0 lead, and then they were up quickly 22-6, banging threes, doing a lot of good things offensively. Pitt was not scoring, obviously, and they were up by 16. At halftime, it was 41-34. So for those of you playing the home game, that means that Syracuse is outscored 28-19 for the remainder of the first half. So you're up 22-6, then you're outscored 28-19 to end the first half. You're still up 41-34, right? You're still up by 7 points, but not a good sign for Syracuse that they were outscored 28-19. So in the second half, they come out, and all of a sudden, there's 13:09 left in the game, and it's a tie game, 51-51. So you look at that and you say, okay, it's 41-34 at halftime. So then Syracuse comes out in the second half and up 41-34. They're outscored at that point 17-10. And in that 17-10 run by the Pitt Panthers, they tied the game at 51. And then, really, it was close for a hot second, and Syracuse ends up losing by 11. It's a 27-point swing. And why do I bring up something like that? Because it's it's something that over the years I started to utilize was the swing, the point swing, and just kind of pay attention to that a little bit more. You're up by almost 20. So you're up by double digits. You lose by double digits. That's a pretty massive swing. And at one point, Syracuse almost lost by the amount they were up by. And I was like, if they lose by 16 after being up by 16, that's insane. But losing by 11 after being up by 16, pretty darn close. It's only 5 points away. For those of you playing the home game, somebody put on my social media that I could do math. And yes, I can, sir. I appreciate the fact that you realize that 16 plus 11 also equals 27 and that you don't think it equals something else. There are some people out there that think 1 plus 1 can equal what you want it to be in today's society. And I think that those people should probably be checked out for some type of psychology, maybe some therapy, if they think 1 plus 1 could equal a different number. But it's really, isn't it funny in society now that like nothing... Right? Some of the easiest questions ever on a test. Name, gender. Right? I wrote Daniel Tortora, check male. There was male, female. That's it. And I was done. Like, easy. Right? You do that on the SATs. I think you got 200 points if you knew what your name was. So, some things like sex, name, math. What do they do on the SATs now when teachers are teaching that math is racist and 1 plus 1 can equal whatever you want it to be? Does that mean that everybody gets a perfect score in the math portion of the SAT, or do they get rid of the SAT? Like, what do they do now? It's so weird in society right now that there are a lot of things in life that are just like normal. And yeah, I'm going to say normal. And if I trigger someone, oh well. Right? There's 2 genders. That's what God gave us, right? There's 2 genders, and you have one name, right? You have a first and last name. Some of us have middle names, some of us don't. And math is math. There are some things that you can argue. You can argue whatever in psychology and philosophy. I took the intro to philosophy. I'm still trying to figure out what I was supposed to learn there. But, because they're like, I think my teacher was talking about you have a pencil in your hand, but is it a pencil? How do you know that it's a pencil? what does it mean for, confusing. But I mean, I get that they want us to, think, but some people have just taken this to the nth degree. There's, what they say now, that some parent like complained to a school that their daughter needs to go to the bathroom in a litter box. So the school had a litter box installed in one of the stalls so that like normal people go to the bathroom. I'm going to say normal people. If that offends you, it's not normal for your child to think that they're a cat. I think the parent needs, I think maybe social services needs to look into the parent, and then that child needs to go to therapy. But if you're teaching your child to be a cat, so this girl in the bathroom at school, like they had allegedly they had a litter box installed so she could go to the bathroom in the litter box. So these girls come into the bathroom, they sit in their stall on a toilet, and they do their normal business. And this girl, scrapes around the litter box, runs in a circle, sits down and does her work. One or two, maybe both. I don't know. I don't want to know. But yeah, I mean, I will tell you this. If our children are being systematically taught that they are animals, it's going to be really easy for the United States to be taken over by another country someday. I mean, if that's what you want, if you want to speak German or Russian or whatever you fancy, if you want to be an extension of China, I mean, I guess keep doing this crazy stuff. But I mean, I think it's time for us to talk about that, right? And yes, I'm a sports show, and you know that Wake Up Call is where sports meets life. I talk about real stuff, and I don't know why people are so afraid to talk about this. Oh my gosh, what if I get canceled? The people that are canceling you, like, they don't have a job. Nobody has time to be online all day unless you have a job, or you don't have a job, or if you have a job that you're really not working. Because the last time I checked, if you were trying to ruin other people's lives, then your life must be pretty crappy. It must not be that great. And this is not a political thing. This is child abuse. And I think we have to talk about it. And I think we should talk about it because I have nieces and nephews that are in school right now, and they're learning from teachers that are hopefully not weird. And what do I mean by weird? Teaching your child that they can go to the bathroom in a litter box and then trying to sexualize children at 8 years old. It's pretty gross, telling a child, like, go get a sex change, like a child, not an adult, a child, and so, and just trying to mutate what God created. I mean, this can cause so many issues. You start mutating a person's body at any age, you're toying with DNA, you're toying with the chemical makeup of somebody. And what if all this stuff leads to cancer? What if it leads to disease? What if it leads to anemia? What if it leads to easily getting infections? Then what do we do, right? I mean, you got to think about that stuff. Even just with, augmentation, when people get like a chest job and whatnot, there's complications that have happened with that, right? Certain materials they couldn't use anymore because it was unhealthy. It could cause problems with people. When you try to change the human body, historically, when we've tried to play God, we have failed at an alarming rate. And if somebody tried to change my child or tell my child to change or try to put their propaganda into my child, that person would have a very not great conversation with me. And so, I can only take so much. I think people can only take so much of hearing this stuff and seeing it. And everybody's afraid, right? Why is everybody afraid, right? Silence is silence is complacence, right? Silence is saying, I mean, even if you're against it, if you're silent, you're agreeing with it. And I don't agree with that. I don't want my nieces and nephews to defecate in a litter box. I don't want my nieces and nephews to be sexualized at 3 and 9 and 6 and 4 and 9 and 7. And I don't want that happening. So I'm just kind of over it, right? I'm over it. And where did this all start, Dan? Well, I was talking about how someone said I could do math. And we talk about these things in society now. It's Like, our society has become so weird, and we're not dealing with normal things. We're not dealing with, like, and when you like disagree with someone, they scream and they cry. And that's their way of these like college students are screaming and crying if you don't agree with them. Like, these children need a hug. They need therapy. They might not need to be in the household that they're in right now. I mean, kids have enough going on in life right now. Bullying can follow you home. You know, when you got bullied in school, it ended at 3:00. Now, because of social media, it doesn't end. And, you know, and you got these kids taking their own lives. I mean, I just had a friend within these last few years take his life over a girl in high school. He attempted to take his life. And ultimately, after some time in the hospital, he passed away. You know, there's enough going on. And the thing about real life is these people that want to talk about these ideals and push these narratives and scare people into submission, that's devil speak, right? That's some devil stuff. And they're not dealing with the real problems. People that have real life experience will always be able to refute idiocy. Always. We will always be able to take down your hollowed out arguments if we've had real life experience. And somebody like me who could talk about a teacher that committed suicide that's a close friend of mine, a friend of mine in high school that committed suicide. When I could speak to these things, when I can speak to that, when I can discuss different things from having conversations with different people and being around different things, when I could spit some knowledge to you, when I could talk about how a man can be verbally abused and a man can be physically abused, and that the Me Too movement should not just be for women, it should be for men and women, because there are men that have been domestically abused. And how do I know that? Because I was one of them. So when you can talk about things that are real life experience, you can refute all of these crazy people that have lost their minds and are seeking to gain other people to lose their minds too. Because apparently losing your mind in today's American society is an epidemic. And whoever's sick with it needs to get other people sick. And if you don't speak up, then you're complicit. And if you're complicit, then what do I say to God at the end of my life when God says, I gave you a microphone, I gave you a camera, I gave you an opportunity to affect people's lives and have positive change, and you kept your mouth shut because you were afraid. You were afraid of these people that are going to scream at you and cry and yell at you and say that you don't deserve this, that, and whatever. If you have time to tell somebody that they're not doing a good job, then you're probably not doing a good job. Right? Because on this show, even when I talked about LeBron yesterday, that was a conundrum for me, because I was bringing up something that I would talk about with any player, right? Sitting out. And how I think the way that the NBA game has shifted to this, like, I'm going to do whatever I want, whenever I want. And, you know, I don't have, it's just like not a connection to the team. Like, I don't have to have loyalty. I don't have to care about my teammates. It can be all about me. I brought up LeBron as an example, but I thought about it all day yesterday and I prayed about it. And I said to God, if I singled out LeBron and I personally attacked him, I'm sorry. I was using him as an example. And I would say the same thing about Steph Curry. I would say the same thing about Tim Duncan. I would say the same thing because, you know, the Spurs were doing it first. And it's like, it was unheard of in the NBA when people were sitting out. And that really started this epidemic in the NBA, right? As far as I remember, is that the Spurs would like rest players and they'd be like, okay, Tony Parker's not playing tonight, but he's not injured. Tim Duncan's not playing tonight, but he's not injured. So are you going to start to reprimand these teams? Are you going to individually punish them in fines? Are you going to fine the team itself as an organization, as a franchise? So I wasn't trying to single out LeBron as a human being and say he's a terrible human being. I was saying the decisions that he makes, if we're supposed to glorify him, which I only glorify God first and foremost, but if we're supposed to glorify LeBron and put him at the top of the mountain of the NBA, then he should be doing things that I would want other people to emulate. And there's a lot of things that he's doing that I wouldn't emulate, and I wouldn't teach my children to emulate, and I wouldn't emulate myself. So I used him as an example. But in no way, shape, or form did I ever seek to personally attack LeBron. The world we live in today, and I hope you know that, LeBron, if you're ever watching or listening, because I appreciate you. I'd love to sit down and talk with you. I'd love to know why you do the things that you do and really break it down. And we would have a respectful conversation, even if we disagree, because that's how life should be. You're a child of God. I'm a child of God. And whether you believe it or not, God loves you. So I would always seek to have that conversation and to hopefully become better from it, the both of us, and anybody watching and listening. I don't like society, like the cancel culture. Cancel culture says to me, I have no life. I hate my life. I'm bored. I'm in pain, and I'm going to take it out on somebody else. It's one of those things, right? Somebody hurt me, so I'm going to hurt somebody, because hurt people hurt people. I'm bored. I'm going to bully because I hate my insides, so I need to look strong outside. I hate my family life, so I need to make somebody else hate their lives. I haven't pushed myself to be the person that I'm capable of being, so I want to bring everybody down to my level so we can all fail together, because when people succeed, it makes me feel bad. Those are the people that are in the cancel culture. There's nobody in the cancel culture that I would consider a friend, an upstanding citizen, a person who has goodness and kind. They're not leading with a pure heart and good intentions, I'll tell you that much. So why be afraid of those people? And not only why be afraid of those people, why be afraid of insanity? Like, at what time did teachers start agreeing with this grotesque, disgusting child abuse and like sexual abuse of children as well in schools? Like, when did we agree to this stuff? When did parents become okay with sexualizing their children? And when did teachers become pro litter box in the classroom and in the bathroom? I don't care if you're a Republican or a Democrat. If you're for any of this stuff, it's child abuse. And if you're for child abuse, that's a pretty crummy human being, in my opinion. You got to be like the lowest of the low human being to abuse a child. To abuse anybody is inhuman to me. But to do it to a child of any age, you need some help. And how do I know this stuff? Because I've been around people that abuse children. And I, as a child, was around somebody who was an abusive person to children. And I, at 10 years old, an alarm went off in my head, and I never put myself around that person again. I didn't give that person an opportunity to go beyond the disrespect and the strangeness and the weird that they had already created. But not every kid does that, right? Some kids are scared. Some kids don't have a good family life. Some kids, it's your parents. This was not my parent. So I could look at this person and say, he's my family member, but there's something off about him. I should probably stay away from him. And I did. And, I thank God that he did not have any connection to me, really, and that we weren't that close. I do thank God for that I didn't have a lot of instances where it was just me and him. But not everybody has that. Again, real life experience. When you're around people that are abusive toward children, when you're around people that try to implement, put propaganda into children, when you're around abusers and you're around manipulators and you're around narcissists, you learn in life that how to kind of read them. And what I don't understand about the life that we're living right now in America is we should know better than the stuff that we're allowing in our schools, in our homes, in our society. And if we don't stand up and we don't say stuff about it, if I sit here and I go, well, I agree with all these broadcasters that are finally opening their mouths about it, but I'm going to sit here like a meek little mouse. I was never meant to be that. God didn't say to me, I'm going to give you a microphone and a camera, and I want you to shut up and not support me. If anything, God said, hey, I know that if no one's going to support me, you will. So shame on me for keeping my mouth shut. And being an uncle, being a godparent, and hopefully one day being a father to a human child. I already have my Lily. But, having all of that, to me, it is extremely important. And I'm around these high school kids all the time. And I'm around their parents and their guardians and their coaches. So it is incredibly important for me to not shy away from talking about God and to call crazy crazy. There's a lot of crazy out there in our society, and it's taking the emphasis off of the things that it should be on, right? Why are we not focused on poverty? Why are we not focused on drugs getting into our country? Why are we not focused on people that are overdosing? People that do what? The fact that we don't have facilities, like we throw people in jail when they have a mental health issue, when we should maybe have more mental health facilities to try and rehabilitate these people. Why aren't we not rehabilitating prisoners in general and getting them ready to reacclimate into society? If you have decided to commit an evil act or multiple evil acts, something along your life has pushed you in a direction, and we need to try and unteach that school of thought, right? To bring you God, to bring you faith, to bring you connection and community and pure heart and good intentions, to surround you with a good support system. If we're not doing that, then we're failing. You can't just look at somebody who's committed a crime and say, they're a terrible person, throw them in the dungeon, let's be done with it. I don't want to give up on humanity. We need to start focusing on the things that matter, though. Our prices are too high everywhere. I bought deodorant. Let me think of what I bought that day. I bought 3 things at the grocery store. I bought deodorant, I bought paper towel, and I bought something else. I'm trying to remember what else I bought. And it cost me $18. It cost me $18. And I'm sitting back and I'm thinking to myself, oh, I think maybe I bought 4 things. Did I buy razors and Ricolas? I bought like no food. I bought throat lozenges, I bought razors, I bought paper towel, and I bought deodorant. Nothing to like actually eat as a meal. And it cost me almost $20. So, I mean, we need to talk about the things that are actually happening in society. And I feel like we're not doing that because the media is focusing on cancel culture. The media is focusing on like kids that want to be turtles and slither around, like walk around laying on the ground, and they want to lick the ground, and they want to be fed, plants, and they're going to like eat the plant in the school that's in the teacher's lounge. It's just spark creativity and imagination with your children. Don't teach them to be insane. There's a difference between the two. Like when you say to your child, you could be anything you want to be, there should be a common sense thing that when you tell your child they could be anything they want to be, that doesn't include being a cat, a turtle, any type of furry, or whatever these crazy. And this has been happening for years. My oldest niece, Emily, told me about furries in her school that wear like the ears and the tail. She told me about that years ago. And now people are talking about it in mainstream media. But this has been infecting us for a while. So, there's a lot of diseases that are out there, and mental illness is a big problem with America. And for whatever reason, whether it's exposure to too much stuff on the internet, or our television has gotten so different, or there's access to too many violent sexual things for children, whatever it may be, we've gotten to a place in society where we have lost the innocence of a child. We have lost the respect of our peers. We have lost the leadership and the responsibility of raising somebody else's kids when you are a teacher, when you are a police officer, when you are, anybody who has any type of authority, a coach. We have lost our way. And I want you to fully understand that the devil delights in all the things that I've talked about today that are happening. If the devil delights in them, they're not good. And I'm telling you right now, he is delightful. He is enjoying this. That's not good. So scratch away the Democrat, scratch away the Republican, scratch away conservative, scratch away liberal, scratch away blah, 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 color, background, national. Reality is reality. There's a lot of abuse going on in our society. There's an abuse of power. There's an abuse of money. There's an abuse of children. There's an abuse of innocence. There is an abuse of creativity. There is an abuse of mental health, emotional health, physical health, spiritual health. There is a complete attack on God in our culture. And until we learn our lesson, we're not going to learn our lesson. So I would love to sit here and, we could talk about basketball and talk about how Syracuse struggled and they lost by 27. But something inside of me today said, I don't want to just sit here and watch Joe Rogan talk about something and say, I agree with that, and then keep my mouth shut because I'm afraid. I've never been a person to live in fear. I'm not going to live in fear now. It's not who I am. It's not why I am. And whenever God takes me back to heaven, number one, I want to get in. And number two, I want to say that I was willing to sacrifice myself and put myself on the line for the health, safety, happiness of the people around me, right? Because I want people to come to me as a voice of reason, as a voice of faith, as a voice of connection to God and connection to reality and connection to creativity, but also the understanding of things that are not healthy. And, again, you can tell a child they could be anything, but the child cannot grow up and think that they're going to go to college to be a professional dinosaur. And the fact that we live in such a gray area in the United States of America now, I understand that it shouldn't have been maybe completely black and white, but some things are black and white, right? There's crimes that are black and white. There's abuse that's black and white. And the funny thing about the arguments that I hear from crazy people is that they actually refute their own argument within arguing for their craziness. They're actually refuting themselves because they will argue towards something. And at the same time, if you did that same thing to them or something like it, it would refute them. Let me say what I want. Let me do what I want. Let me be who I want. But then when somebody else does the same thing and they don't agree with that person saying, doing, and being that way, they start screaming and crying. So they're asking for you to accept them, but then they're not accepting other people. And see, hypocrisy, they say that there is, 8 deadly sins or 7 deadly sins? I think the 8th one is hypocrisy. Because there's a lot of hypocrisy in today's culture. Do as I say, not as I do. You need to accept me for everything that I bring to the table, but the moment that you bring something different to the table, I'm going to cry and scream and say that you're wrong and I need my mommy and my binky, and this person's 26 years old sucking their thumb. That's insane. Okay? We have to look at society and we have to say, when I was a kid, there was no mental health awareness. When I was a kid, suck it up. There was horrible things said to children when I was growing up. Suck it up, be stronger, stop being weak, stop being a wimp, stop being a bunch of names I'm not going to say on a family show. That was my childhood. I'm not saying that my parents were beating up on me. I'm saying that was society. Now society is, oh my gosh, are you okay? Is everything okay? Somebody was voted president you didn't want. Do you need a hug and a hot towel compress and you to take a day off? There's me growing up as a kid and maybe not enough kind of love and support and there was no mental health awareness, but there's now where people take mental health days if the person that runs for president that wins isn't the person they voted for. People take mental health days if somebody disagrees with them. We went from one extreme of no mental health awareness to an extreme of mental health awareness, including telling insane people that they're not insane. And I'm not going to do that on the show. I'm not going to sit here and be complicit. I'm not going to sit here and be shut up. I'm not going to zip my mouth shut. I do not like the woke culture and the things that are happening. I think it's terrifying. And for me to be someone who always wanted to have children and now I'm nervous to have them and I'm considering homeschooling my kids. For me to homeschool my children and run my business, there's going to be a lot that goes with that. I'm willing to make my life difficult in order to not put my children in the hands of caregivers that do not care or give anymore in certain instances. Okay? Growing up as a kid, I trusted police officers, firefighters, Everybody in the hospital, doctors, nurses, I thought everybody was out for us. Teachers for us, principals for us. And now I look at stuff and I go, well, I trust that teacher, but I ain't going to put my child anywhere near that one. Like, there's certain professions where you can't afford to be abusive and propagandized and strange, and teacher is included in that. And I think to be in society now and to have friends that are telling me we're thinking about pulling our kids out of school and homeschooling these kids. I mean, that makes me sad. It's terrifying. It's confusing. And it's a terrible assessment of our society that unfortunately is very true and very real. So, you know, if the people that are crazy aren't shutting up, why the heck do I need? And that's the other thing too. Shut up or I'll cancel you. What if I cancel you? What if I don't shut up and I get you to leave? You know what I mean? It's like these people telling you shut up and get in line or else, but then they're telling you that you can't say that to them. You can't tell them to shut up and get in line. And I would never say that to somebody because I'm a God-fearing person and I don't believe shut up, get in line is something that God would suggest that I say to somebody. So, you know, I mean, how do we handle society? We handle it by speaking up. We handle it by caring about our children and caring about ourselves enough to say something. You know, I am completely blessed to be surrounded by people that have good heads on their shoulders, that speak in reality, that understand when things are crazy. But if we're living in a society that keeps getting closer and closer to nothing's crazy, if on Monday we say it's crazy and it was normal on Sunday, if we say it's crazy on Monday, then it's crazy on Monday. If we say it's normal on Tuesday, then it's normal on Tuesday. If it's crazy on Wednesday, you know what I mean? It's like it keeps the ball keeps moving. It's kind of like putting a ping pong ball under a cup and you keep like shifting it under different cups, and it's like today it's crazy, tomorrow it's not. We have to be very careful living in the gray area of society because the reality is there are things that are normal. Well, Dan, what's normal? How do you define normal? Normal is only defined by how you grew up and the people that taught you what normal is. I hear the arguments in my head. If you're going to argue that murder is normal, if you're going to argue that pedophilia is normal, if you're going to argue that racism is normal, you're going to have a fight with me. Okay? And instead of turning children into animals, and instead of mutilating and mutating children, how about we actually look at the prejudice in our society? Instead of creating new races and new factions of people, how about we stop playing God and we look at the actual systemic racism, prejudice, sexism that happens in society? How about we take care of our real problems and stop creating fake ones? Because as far as I'm concerned, the fake problems have not corrected any of the real ones. And I would rather get someone off the street that's homeless so they don't freeze to death in this terrible winter that we've been having. I don't want to say terrible winter, but in this very vibrant winter that we've been having. I would rather get someone off the street and keep them alive. I would rather get someone a meal, get someone on their feet, tell them how to write a resume and get them a job than worry about someone who wants to pee in a litter box in my classroom. That's real. We're going to take a step aside. We'll be back on Wake Up Call inside of the Great Lakes Honda City Studios right after this. In these unique times, there are those in our community that give us a sense of normalcy and positivity. Pizza Man on 50 Oswego Street in Baldwinsville has been here for you for over 35 years and is here now. Call 315-638-1234 or order online at pizzamanbville.com to bring those familiar tastes into your home. And remember to come see our monthly on-site broadcasts centered around the community and our Baldwinsville Bees. Pizza Man in Baldwinsville. Any way you slice it, they are always here for you. Looking for your next ride? Look no further than Great Lakes Honda City, located on 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Serving our community for decades, their new and pre-owned vast array of vehicles are available to you Monday through Saturday on site. To search from home, shop at GreatLakesHondaCity.com. Call 315-365-5576 to set up an appointment. That's 315-365-5576 for Great Lakes Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Great cars, great people, Great Lakes.
All right, you need to come out here and get yourself the Brooklyn Pickle. I was talking about this with one of my buddies. I was like, yo, there's no better sandwich in the state of New York than the Brooklyn Pickle. And now that I found out that they're going down to North Carolina, we are taking over your taste buds everywhere you are, wherever you're going to be. You need to get yourself out to the Brooklyn Pickle. Pinehurst, you just realized that you found yourself the best sandwich shop that you're ever going to have. This is a glorious moment. It's a blessing to your community. You're welcome. Brooklyn in the house, baby. Go over to the Brooklyn Pickle. You already know what it is.
You heard the man. Head to Brooklyn Pickle Pinehurst on 1788 Old Morgantown Road in Southern Pines, North Carolina.
Carvel DeWitt, it's what happy tastes like. Do you know why? Because we make ice cream. Creamy, rich, flavorful ice cream. Not yogurt or iced milk like some of our competitors. Ice cream. Fresh, by hand, daily. For the calorie conscious, we have something new for you. Our new Carvelite. Same great flavor, creaminess, and texture of our regular ice cream with only 35 calories an ounce. So whether you want an ice cream cake, flying saucer, dasher, carvalanche, hard or soft ice cream, we will satisfy your craving with our fresh, handmade regular or new Carvelite ice cream. Carvel DeWitt. It's what happy tastes like.
The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is located on 3680 Milton Avenue in the Home Depot Plaza. It is your family-friendly sports bar and restaurant. Folks, some sports bars aren't family-friendly. Some family-friendly restaurants are not sports bars. The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is proud to be both. It is that marriage that you've been looking for years. The Wildcat Sports Pub is your home base for your sports bar and restaurant needs, games for the kids, indoor and outdoor activities, and enough things on the menu to come back every single week and get to try something new. They're open Sundays from noon to 8 p.m., Monday through Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Thursday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to midnight. For reservations and party information, call 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat family-friendly sports pub and restaurant.
GG Cards and Breaks. Like, comment, subscribe.
GG Cards and Breaks coming to you on 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse, New York. You will find them right there off of Teal Ave Tuesday through Saturday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. and on Sundays from 10 to 5. Much appreciation for everybody that heads over to GG Cards and Breaks. Hockey, basketball, baseball, soccer, football, Disney Lorcana, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Pokemon, Magic the Gathering, and more while supplies last. You'll find them over at GG Cards and Breaks. They just got a ton of graded cards in from a PSA order, so you could go and see all those graded cards, get some good stuff encapsulated, bring it home, awesome quality cards. You can look at their singles as well as autograph cards, rookie patch autos, also called RPAs, one of ones potentially, relic cards. And they're the only store that I know that has every NFL, every MLB, and every NBA team. That is 92 franchises that they have boxes for. That is very tedious work, and they do it for you. And I don't know anybody else that does it. They have packs, they have boxes. You can open them up and see what you can get. Test your luck to get something great and bring it home. I've opened a lot of stuff at GG Cards and Breaks. We do box breaks and pack breaks all throughout the year, every single month. And I've gotten some of the best cards that I've ever received, including very recently the last big box that I opened. Some of the best stuff I've ever gotten in my entire life has come from GG Cards and Breaks. So great product, great people, great service. It starts with Josh and Anthony. Go and see them today. Tell them DT sent you, and make sure you go to trade night this Thursday, February 20th. That's tomorrow for those of you watching and listening live. This Thursday, February 20th, 6:30 to 9:30 p.m., go to GG Cards and Breaks trade night and trade your Disney Lorcana, your sports cards, your Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Magic the Gathering. Bring it all. Come out. And if you have no cards and you just want to see what it's all about, come out and hang out and walk around and get a feel for it yourself. All ages are welcome, and all different collectors are welcome. And what I mean by different collectors, if you've never collected, if you collected your whole life, if you just started, if you've been doing it, then you stopped, then you started doing it again, wherever you are in your collecting journey, it all leads to GG Cards and Breaks. 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse, New York, right off of Teal Ave. Let them know that DT sent you. Tuesday through Saturday, they're open from 10 to 6, Sundays from 10 to 5, and this Thursday from 6:30 to 9:30 p.m., we have GG Cards and Breaks Trade Night, which happens monthly, either at the store or at the Wildcat Sports Pub, and we look forward to seeing you there this Thursday, February 20th. Love to see new faces and the returning faces as well. With that being said, here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life, I want to thank you inside the Great Lakes Honda City Studios for being with us on YouTube.com and Facebook.com, both /WakeUpCallDT, and on WakeUpCallDT.podbean.com, Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. I want to thank you all as well for being with us on our wonderful platforms here, on our podcasting platforms, as well as our social media. You can find us on Amazon Music, Audible, iHeartRadio, iTunes and Apple Podcasts, Player FM, Podbean, Podchaser.com, Podvine, Spotify, TuneIn, and YouTube. All you have to do is search Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, or one word, Wake Up Call DT. So make sure you come and find us where sports meets life on all of these channels. Follow, subscribe. It's free. Don't waste a second. Go out there and do it today. And, of course, from New York to North Carolina, from NY to NC, you will find Brooklyn Pickle down in Southern Pines, North Carolina, on 1788 Old Morganton Road in Southern Pines, North Carolina. Find the BP today, and it's right down the road from Pinehurst Golf Courses. And many of you that follow the PGA, you know that Pinehurst is a massive, massive place when it comes to the world of the PGA Tour. And right down the road from it now, you'll find Brooklyn Pickle at Southern Pines on 1788 Old Morganton Road in Southern Pines, North Kakalaki. Go and see them today. And many thanks to our team of partners in Central and Upstate New York. Much love and many thanks to the Great Lakes Honda City for being our exclusive studio partner. Carvel DeWitt, where you could get my Sunday, the DT Dolphin, 7 days a week. And on Wednesdays, you get buy one, get one. Why do you get buy one, get one on Wednesday, Dan? Well, because Wednesday is buy one, get one Sundays at Carvel DeWitt. And the only place you'll find my Sunday, the DT Dolphin, is at Carvel DeWitt on 4322 East Genesee Street in DeWitt, New York. So go out there today. Don't let the cold weather fool you. The same great flavors are there waiting for you and waiting for your taste buds. The DT Dolphin, mint chocolate chip ice cream, green for the Dolphins, topped off with hot fudge, whipped cream, a cherry, green and gold sprinkles, and a chocolate dolphin jumping out of the whipped cream. Right there at Carvel DeWitt, the DT Dolphin, down the road from the Moyne Dolphins, and obviously made in connection and appreciation with love for Moyne College and our partnership with them as well. The Wildcat Sports Pub, GG Cards and Breaks, Servomation, reinventing, reimagining, reinvigorating what it is to be vending. Servomation does it differently. They have fantastic product that they put in, a variety of food. Like I said, I toured the facility, looked at the technology, found out about the technology, saw all the different things that they can offer. Flavored water machines where you can get water and then tell the machine, hey, put a lemon in there. Hey, put some orange slices in there. And there you go. Bang, there it is. They have the coffee machines, the espresso machines, and so much more, including this massive kitchen that they have a chef in there creating these awesome opportunities to have. It's like going to a deli as opposed to just going to a vending machine that you're terrified of how long something's been in there. This is fresh, this is good, and the variety of it is incredible. It's literally like going to a cafe inside of wherever you work or wherever you go to school. Servomation should be serving you. Find out more by going to servomation.com, servomation.com. Mon Paz, the snack capital of the world, 201 Old 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York. Avicoli's Canine Camp Dog Daycare, as well as Mother's Cupboard. You will find my breakfast sandwich exclusively at Mother's Cupboard. It's nowhere else in the world. My breakfast sandwich in central and upstate New York is only found at Mother's Cupboard, Syracuse staple restaurant. If you know Syracuse, you know Mother's. If you know Mother's, well, then you know a good piece of Syracuse. Go there 7 days a week, 6 a.m. to 1:30 p.m., 3709 James Street in Syracuse, and try my Cuse Mac Mother. It is my bacon, egg, and cheese breakfast sandwich inside of 2 pieces of French toast. Cut it up and have it with some syrup, and pick it up and have it like a sandwich right there at Mother's Cupboard, exclusively 7 days a week. Chick-fil-A Cicero, Canine Campground Dog Boarding, Pizza Man, Brian's Landing, which has an eclectic menu that you won't find anywhere else in central and upstate New York. Makes me feel like I'm on vacation. And of course, we are the exclusive multimedia marketing partner of your Moyne College Dolphins. It is Fins Up every single month on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Weekly on Wednesdays at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. We call it Dolphin Time. Like today with Nate Champion, you'll hear from head coaches, coaches in general, student athletes, administration, future Dolphins, and alumni in our stories in our exclusive multimedia marketing partnership with Moyne College. And of course, these Dolphins are swimming over to youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. You'll find them there. Click subscribe, hit the notification bell, and find our Lemoyne Dolphins playlist. And of course, you'll find the Dolphins on wakeupcalldt.com's homepage, as well as underneath the exclusive partners tab. For more information, go to LemoyneDolphins.com and Fins Up. The Bryan and Stratton College Bobcats of Syracuse are exclusive multimedia marketing partners with Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Find your Bobcats at what we call the Bobcat Buzz every single month. Here with student athletes, coaches, and administration, we tell the stories of your Bobcats in a way that you won't find anywhere else. And you can find all those pieces, including our Bobcat Takeover with new athletics director Brooke Parro, by going to youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. Click subscribe, hit the notification bell, find our BSC Syracuse playlist. The Bobcats are also on wakeupcalldt.com's homepage and underneath the exclusive partners tab. For more information, go to syracuse.bscbobcats.com and go Bobcats. The Binghamton University Bearcats are exclusive multimedia marketing partners with Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Find your Bearcats every single month and every week on Tuesdays at 10 a.m. Eastern Time in what we call Bearcat Time with student athletes, coaches, and administration. You had a double dose of the Bearcat Break Room this week, under promise and over deliver, with the head coach of the Binghamton Bearcats men's lacrosse team and a student athlete alum of the team, celebrating the life of J.R. Gaudet, as well as speaking on the 2025 season, that being with the head coach Kevin McEwen. And of course, we had for the first time ever on the broadcast Jenna Chan joining us, a hurdler for the women's track and field team for Binghamton University, and the Bearcats telling her story. Find it all by going to youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. Click subscribe, hit the notification bell, and find our Binghamton playlist. You'll also find the Bearcats on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. You also find them on wakeupcalldt.com. Just gave 2 plugs to YouTube. Nothing wrong with that. wakeupcalldt.com's homepage, and underneath the exclusive partners tab, you'll find Binghamton as well on wakeupcalldt.com. Of course, go to binghamtonbearcats.com for more information, and go Bearcats. Thank you so much for tuning into today's show. Facebook at wakeupcalldt, X at calldt, Instagram at wakeupcall_DT, inside of MonPazPopcorn.com. I want to thank our guests, Nate Champion, Lemoyne Dolphins men's basketball head coach, and Brian Newberry, the head coach of the Navy Midshipman Football Program. God bless to them both, to their programs, and many thanks for their time as always. Good people. Thanks, Nate. Thanks to Brian. Thanks to you for watching and listening. As always, from the Great Lakes Honda City Studios, we say, God bless, no stress, do your best. Keep God first, and remember that staying quiet is never what God meant for you. Be you, be kind, be yourself, and stand up for what you believe in, now and forever. Amen.